Locker Road Race of the Month is brought to you by Foot Locker, where it all begins, and by Bud Light. If you want great taste that won't fill you up and never let you down, make it a Bud Light. The gun is up, ready for the 21st running of the Great American Road Race, the Falmouth Road Race. Hi everybody, I'm Tony Revis on one of the biggest press trucks in the sport along with Steve Scott. Helicopters are overhead and we are underway. There's the gun. And 7,500 runners, that's a record field here at Woods Hole, now make the 7-mile trek to Falmouth Heights. Steve, it's your first trip to Cape and the Falmouth Road Race. As I said, it's the Great American Road Race. It's the end of the summer. Everyone traditionally is in great shape. That's why we've had wonderful races here.
Oh, traditionally we've had some great races, especially some great duels. In the early 70s, we had Frank Shorter against Bill Rogers. Late 70s, early 80s, Alberto Salazar against the rest of the world. And then today is no different. We've got a group of Kenyans who are going to be battling it out, but we have a couple of potential spoilers. One from Italy and another one from America who has been training with the Kenyans recently.
They have a tremendous incentive in terms of money, but they're extremely dedicated athletes. There's no mystery to what they do. None. It's just hard work. 5:30 in the morning at 5:30 pace. Simon KARORI, Bunda, which translation literally means wild donkey. And he is literally a wild donkey. He gets up at 4 o'clock in the morning and will run 2 hours. Nobody trains with Bunda because he'll bury you. He's a mystery because he does his own thing. He's an extremely dedicated, very tough athlete. Bunda, for me, is the king. And we're just kind of the also-rans, but how I fit in there, I don't really know. I would imagine I'm just one of the other guys, training with them.
Steve, what impressed you about Keith's remarks when we were talking to him yesterday about training with the Kenyans?
I think the remark that impressed me the most is something that we've discussed before in the past. The fact that the real motivating factor for the Kenyans is the money. And also the team camaraderie. They don't care who else, what other Kenyan wins as long as it's a Kenyan. But one of the other factors is the amount of money that these guys can make. And $1,000 in Kenya is worth $20,000 in America.
The Kenyans are known for one thing: go out hard and make everyone else suffer right away. And not just these domestiques like setting it up for the favorites.
Last year, the first mile went out in 4:13, and that's incredible.
Colleen DEREUCK right now is leading the women. Colleen from Durban, South Africa. She's been right up there in the top in all the road races that we've watched her in. Of course, the last time we saw her on the Foot Locker Road Race of the Month, she was third at the Peachtree Road Race. But she wasn't somebody who was running with the front pack at that competition.
Yeah, in her interview, she said that she was not going to be intimidated by the women taking off. She let that get to her in previous races, let the women get ahead of her and not cover the moves. And I think today she's going to run her race, and if that means leading the whole way, then that's what she's going to do.
Dominic Karui is now taken to the front. Simon KARORI in second. That looks like Simon Peter back in third in the yellow and the blue stripes. He's from Tanzania. Man, we want to keep our eye on in the light blue shorts and the white top is Salvatore Bettiol from Italy, because he has been very much of a factor here in Falmouth.
He won 2 years back in 1991.
Right. He's in the white, and he is closest to the ocean. But right now it's Karui, Peter, and Simon KARORI being right up in there. And Keith Brantley is in fourth place, and we're coming up on the 1 mile mark. It's right near the Nobska Lighthouse, the famous Nobska Lighthouse. And here's the 1 mile mark. Boom. What we get 1 mile, boys? 4:20. 4:20 for Dominic Karui. So that is pretty traditional here at Falmouth. It's gone out as fast as you say. It's 4:13. The duel along the shore continues right after this timeout.
Back to school shopping.
Perfect. Too shiny.
Perfect.
Race of the month. I'm Tony Revis along with Steve Scott at the Falmouth Road Race. And now we're passing the famous Nobska Lighthouse, which is the landmark on this Falmouth Road Race course. And also we come now to the steepest part of the road race course as we've gone up that hill past the 1 mile mark. Now we come sprinting downhill, and it's a real shock. These first 3 miles got a lot of these rolling type hills. And Dominic Karui, who's the silver medalist at the World Cross Country Championships, that tells you all you need to hear about how well he runs up and down Dale.
And it seems to me like the pack of runners in the lead pack, the runners that we thought were going to be there. So far there aren't too many surprises.
Maybe the only one to be KHALID KAIROUANI. who's running in 4th place right now. But he's living in Philadelphia, a Moroccan gentleman who's been a very good runner. He has a tendency to go out very fast and then fade a little bit near the end. But Dominic KARORI, well, what can you say? Another Kenyan running as smooth as a well-oiled machine should.
No, with us always, we just like staying in the front. Yeah, but we have one secret of which we are not saying to anybody as Kenyans. So we are just staying in front, and we have calculated how we shall just run that race. And that secret is only us, the whole team.
We've got an 8:52 2-mile split. So in essence, with those rolling hills up and down, it's pretty even. For 4:20 for the first mile, 8:52 for the second mile. So they're running fairly even. KARORI has joined KAROUI, and those guys have established a lead, which, you know, Steve, you really do think once those guys establish a gap like that, in other situations, in other years, somebody might be able to come back on them, but this might be for the race.
That's right, and these aren't, like you said, the second pack Kenyans. These are the two of the top runners, and when two of the top get away like that, it's going to be very tough to cover that move. If you notice, the Kenyans that are running well situate themselves in training camps. There's a large group of them here out in the Boston area, and it's for training. That's all they do. They get up in the morning, they run in the afternoon, they run in the evening, you know, sometimes 3 times a day. And it's surprising when the Kenyans go back to Kenya, it's like they forget all about training. They go back, they visit their friends and family, and training becomes an afterthought. So I wouldn't be surprised if OSANO is not quite as sharp today as he will be in another month.
Well, now somewhat of a surprise is John Tracy from Rhode Island, and of course Ireland, the 2-time world cross-country champion from decades ago, and back in the Los Angeles Olympics of '84, the silver medalist in the marathon, is into 3rd place. And we talked to John yesterday during our interview session. Everyone was saying, well, we'll talk to him because he's such a great guy and he has such a great perspective on the sport, but we really didn't think he was going to have a very good race. John's 36 years old, and yet he's one of those guys that never says die.
It was my impression by talking to him yesterday that he wasn't going to be a factor, but here he is at the 2.5 mile mark, and he's in 3rd place. So you never can count on a guy that especially is living in this area, training in this area. Something happens when you run a race like this. Heart takes over where conditioning is left behind.
I like the Kenyan runners because I know they're very gifted athletes. Right now they look like they are actually totally dominating the sport, but there was a period too when the Mexicans were dominating the sport. I think it goes through phases. I think it'll all even out in the end. Probably the younger guys coming up will learn how to run with these guys. Maybe old farts like me mightn't, but the younger guys will, and I think it'll all even out. People will probably realise they have to train harder to run with these guys.
Tom Ratcliffe is the manager of the Kenyans. And Tommy, what do you make of KAROUI and KARORI? We thought they'd be the 2 favorites in the race. Any surprises?
Not really. They've been training together for the last couple of weeks in Concord, just outside of Boston, and they've been running together a lot. And this is, to me, it looks like a training run for them. I mean, I think right now they're running quite comfortably, but I'm sure Simon has designs on winning since he got 2nd last year, and he really has been pointing towards this race all summer.
We'll be back with more from Old Cape Cod right after this. Stick around. Welcome back to the 21st running of the Falmouth Road Race on the Foot Locker Road Race of the Month. I'm Tony Revis along with Steve Scott. Right now it's still KAROUI and KARORI in 1st and 2nd, and KARORI looks like he's absolutely jogging. The 4 men in the 2nd pack have closed that gap.
It seems like they're working together. It seems like there's been a lot of lead changes, and they're trying to drive that 2nd pack closer to the lead Kenyans.
Now, Keith Brantley, who in 1982, when he was just a young pup, showed up at the Falmouth Road Race. Nobody knew him, and this tow-headed kid just went right to the front for the first couple of miles. And of course, remember, 1982 was one of the 2 Alberto Salazar record performances here at Falmouth. And as we had a very long talk with Keith just yesterday about his training sessions with the Kenyans at the Concord Academy just outside Boston.
We get up at 5:40 in the morning. stretch just a little bit, and go out for about an hour run in the forest. And it ranges from excruciatingly slow pace, 9-minute pace, then it starts to pick up to a very uncomfortable pace running through hills. They can run hills like a child, romps over the playground. It's unbelievable. We come back, the workout's finished, we have a little bit of tea, and it's rest and sleep. Their idea of taking naps and resting is training. In the afternoon, they take a little bit of breakfast, maybe some tea and some bread, and then they have lunch. And we go out for the afternoon workout, which can be either a track workout or an easy run of maybe 40 minutes or so. So it's nothing different than what the Americans do. It's just they're extremely focused and their life revolves around running.
Now it's time for this month's Power Bar Road Report. Power Bar, fuel for optimum performance. And this month, we show off the 26th annual Arcadia Foot Locker Invitational, one of the nation's top prep track and field competitions. It's where stars of the future gain valuable experience racing against the other very best youngsters from around the country. One of the featured events, the boys 3,200 meters, which we used to call the 2 mile, back when Tom Hunt set the record of 8:45 in 1976. This year, Ridgewood, New Jersey's Bob Kano won the race, the son of the great Kip Kano of Kenya, showing that part of it, at least, is in the genes. On the women's side, the 1,600 meters showcased a strong national field. And the best on this particular day was Amy Skirez from Agora High School in California. She's in second place right now, and now in the lead. Amy is a sophomore. Last December, finished third in the Kinney National Cross Country Championships. And that's this month's Power Bar Road Report. Power Bar, fuel for optimum performance. We're getting a 4-mile update on the women's race. It is still Colleen DEREUCK in 20 minutes and 13 seconds at the 4-mile mark. And then the Italian is in second place, and Vyazova, a Russian woman who's just coming over from the European track circuit, is in third place. She just ran an 8:52 3,000, beat Lynn Jennings, by the way, in that 3,000, so she's got speed. It's the first time we've ever had a second pack here at Falmouth, I think, which has a chance to catch the front runners and make a race of it after the gap has been opened.
One thing we haven't mentioned, Tony, is one of the great things about this race is from the start to the finish, there's been a steady stream of people lining the course, supporting the athletes the whole way. And that's really the driving force behind these great performances, is to have a group of people cheering you on the entire way. And that is what this event has.
And Dominic Curry has been doing all the work in front, and KARORI has just been sitting, in a sense, not doing his fair share of work, just reserving himself for perhaps the kick to the finish. But if he just lets that happen, it doesn't help KARORI. He's going to take the front, and those 4 men working together might have a chance of getting up on him.
That's right. He's been running either behind him or right on his shoulder, and either way, you're getting the benefit of that guy leading you.
We'll be back with more from the Falmouth Road Race right after we take this time out. Welcome back to Falmouth. And now it's time for this month's Reebok Close-Up, featuring this month Bill Reifsnyder.
There is one workout that I do, and that is that I combine my long runs and my tempo runs. It's a very difficult workout. I can only do it a couple times in my marathon preparation. I'll go out for a 20-mile run at 6-minute pace, end it in a park where I'll then go into a tempo run. Upon arriving in the park, I immediately change from my training shoes into my racing shoes with as little transition as possible, and start my 5-mile tempo run at marathon to sub-marathon pace. For me, that's 4:50 to 5-minute pace. And then I'll continue just do a 2-mile warm down. The purpose of the workout is to simply simulate life after 20 miles in the marathon.
23:05 at 5 miles.
Let him go, John, let him go.
What's that? Mike Roach, second place finisher at Falmouth 78, is riding out those splits. And now the pack is 8 seconds back, and John Tracy has taken to the front of that group. And they have not eaten into that lead. And between 4 and 5, the Kenyans have sort of assumed another few strides in front.
It doesn't seem like that second pack is gaining the ground that we thought. And the two Kenyans are also still working together. They're running side by side now instead of Simon running behind. So I think they're aware of that second pack, and they're working to extend that lead.
Well, it's one of the best indicators is now Brantley and Tracy go to the front of that second pack. It's one of the best indicators I've seen of how to run a road race when you've let the gap open up and you're trying to fight back. You can't do it single-handedly, and that four-man group has really done a marvelous job.
You know, those Kenyans go out hard. They usually stay there, so it's hard to pick them back. No question about it. You look to see what Thomas OSANO and Simon KARORI have done all year. But, you know, you never know. Time can catch up with them too. They've run a lot of races.
How you doing?
Hey guys, doing all right. Gentle.
Had a good race.
Just having a hell of a time.
Stay close, guys. You're looking good.
Got behind him a little. Sort of got behind him a little. They're gaining on him, aren't they? Yeah, let's go, guys.
This is Joe Kincannon from the Boston Globe, and Joe's been covering this race for what, 20 years, Joe?
My 20th, Tony, yeah.
Geez, you've seen them all. Joe, how has the sport changed in the 20 years that you've been covering Falmouth? Because Falmouth is almost in many ways the litmus test for the entire sport of road racing.
It's changed. Prize money's available now. It wasn't available 20 years ago. The press truck 20 years ago was a two-seat Corvette or something, whatever I was sitting in. A waitress from the old restaurant, the Brothers Ford, driving it, and I was kneeling on the seat watching the race from behind and wondering who the heck that little blonde-haired guy was, Bill Rogers, winning it, and where Marty LaQuarrie was.
Brantley has now assumed that lead of that second pack, and Keith is having the kind of race he had last year. I mean, his training with the Kenyans has really paid dividends for him.
Oh, absolutely. He's learned from them. I think he's a bit tougher, both mentally and physically. When you're training with the Kenyans for 3 weeks, naturally you're going to get that mental toughness of knowing that, hey, if I train with him, I could race with him.
And Keith is really now, he's looking back and he's trying to break up that second pack. There's no doubt about that right now. Brantley has made a move. We're still wondering what that number guy in the black is in there. He's been the surprise. Every year at Falmouth, though, we've had a surprise. Dominic KAIROUANI, who looks absolutely silky smooth. And Simon KARORI. We're taking off, and we're blitzing off to the finish line. So let's take a break. When we come back, the duel continues at Falmouth. KAIRORI and KAIROUANI. We'll see you then.
We're here.
Welcome back to the Foot Locker Road Race of the Month. I'm Tony Revis and Steve Scott. We're at the finish line, awaiting KAIRORI and KAIROUANI, who should be approaching that final defining hill on the course right about now.
It's only the last mile which is very difficult. So you need to calculate very much on the last mile, because that is it's a very steep hill. And also after the hill, there's a steep area again, so you must calculate on that, because always it's not good to run in a flat area and then you finish in just a steep area. So you must calculate on the last mile. Because on our last week workout, we're just doing hill climbing. So I think with that hill, there's no problem. It's only the calculation matter.
Welcome back to the finish line of the Falmouth Road Race. Tony Revis along with Steve Scott. And we're hearing the PA announcer saying that Simon KARORI is in the lead.
Simon KARORI, he's got a good lead.
Steve, see if you can get this guy. Get him across there. Come on across here. Simon KARORI hits the tape. And there's in second place. Second place is Dominic KAIROUANI. Brantley and KAIROUANI in third. KAIROUANI in fourth. Tracy in fifth. And it's Mike, your roommate, sixth.
My roommate. We've been trying to figure out who he was all day, and it was my roommate.
What a story here at Falmouth. We're trying to figure out who this guy is. I said, it sort of looked like your roommate.
Mike did not have a room. I met him at the bus station. He didn't have a place to stay. He called me up. I told him, hey, if you don't have a place to stay, come visit me. He gave me a call. He's been with me all weekend, and he places here in Falmouth. It's great.
And we didn't even see him. Now it's time for the Foot Locker scoreboard. Simon KARORI picks up the $10,000 in first place money, and the surprise, KHALID in third place.
Kwenda kumaliza ilikuwa tunataka tuvunje ya rekodi, lakini sasa mpaka tukapata noto, sasa mpaka tuvunje tuelekee mpaka tumalize.
And now you can't ask for a better translator than the man who finished in second place, Dominic Rui. Dominic, what did he say, and how was the race?
No, the race was it was a nice one. It was not hard as last week. So today's race was very good. But the only problem we got was the last mile. It was very hard. Yeah. But the other first 6 miles it was okay.
Number 3 is coming through.
Women's champion, DEREUCK. Good job, Colleen. DEREUCK in her first championship here on the American Tour. And she's got plenty left as she jogs along with her husband after the race. Elena Villazova from Russia. Good job, Elena. Elena Villazova in second place. Steve, turn around here. Here's Roseanne MUNEROTTO. Roseanne, nice job. Congratulations. She's in third place.
And in the women's Foot Locker scoreboard, it's rookies prevail here, with DEREUCK from South Africa with a victory in her first trip to the Cape, followed by 2 others in their first trip to Falmouth.
Yeah, Steve, how do you like Falmouth?
Fantastic. I love it. It was everything that it was built up to be.
All right, let's back up a little bit. They're throwing us out of here. These monster race officials. Anyway, next month on the Foot Locker Road Race of the Month, we're off to Flint, Michigan for the great Crim 10 miles.
The call. By the time they reached Piedmont Park 6 miles later, the Kenyan press had been broken, and Hanek emerged with the victory. Fall 93, after leading, then fading at the Boston Marathon and the Stuttgart World Championships, newcomer